So we're going to be looking at Mark chapter 4, verse 35 to 41. That day when evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." Now that passage is just a really great reminder that we can get into places in our life, and currently my wife and I are in that kind of place at the moment of just trusting God, and everything can seem to be going wrong around you, and the storms are happening, and it looks like you're going to sink. It looks like you're not going to make it through, like you're not going to survive. And the image of Jesus sleeping is just that image of God not being worried. Sometimes it happens on a really deep level, like you're struggling with doubts, like, do I really believe in God? Do I believe in this Christianity stuff? And we get so nervous, like we can't really express it because of this, not a real thought you have, but almost like the underlying thought of this stuff is going to knock God off his throne. And it's really not. And I think it's really good to remember that as the storm is happening, Jesus is sleeping. He's not concerned. He knows that in a word, in a line, the storm is going to stop. He's got the power over it. He is connected to the one who has the power over the storms. And what's interesting about this story is that the disciples, we've already watched Jesus heal a paralyzed man. We've watched him heal many people from various things. And so they've witnessed a whole bunch of miracles already. And they're faced with another dire situation. It's like, "Oh, God, can you do anything?" It's like, well, how did I do when there was a paralyzed guy? How did I do with the dead girl? Maybe a storm's not such a big deal. And I think the interesting thing is, like, at those miracle points, the disciples saw that and it increased their faith. But it's usually the storm that is right in front of us that grabs our attention and causes our faith to waver. And so it takes our attention away from things God may have done in our life, things God may have already said to us, and it becomes the thing in our face at the moment. And the question is, like, in that time, do we go to God or do we try to figure it out ourselves? And so even though the disciples got rebuked, they went to Jesus because they knew that if anyone was going to save them, he was the one. And so when the storms are raging, do we go to Jesus? Are we honest about the fact that the storms are raging, or do we let Jesus sleep? Do we kind of leave God alone and hope that he doesn't know, that he doesn't realize, or whatever? Or do we go to God and do we get honest and we say, "God, this is the crap that is happening in and around my life at the moment, and if you don't get involved, then I'm going to sink." And so it's a really exciting story. The disciples get rebuked, but hopefully it's just one more reminder that later when Jesus isn't physically with them, they'll remember this time. They'll remember that they are following the one who, in a couple of words, got the storms and the winds to quiet and be still. What are the things that you're wanting Jesus to say? Quiet, be still in your life at the moment. Make sure you go to him and invite him to really speak to those things in your life.